This forum is sponsored by the League of Women Voters of Richardson for candidates running for House District 112. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan organization which never supports or opposes any candidate or political party. If you are interested in joining or donating to the League of Women Voters of Richardson, go to our website, www.LWV-Richardson.org. Membership is open to women and men of all ages. Our website, Twitter, and Facebook page also have lots of information about November's election. There you will find links to valuable information for both Dallas and Collin counties, such as early voting days and times. There will also be a link to www.vote411.org, the League's nonpartisan online voters guide. A printed version of the voters guide will be available soon at the Richardson Library, Heights and Huffines Recreation Centers, and the Richardson Senior Center. Due to the COVID-19 pandemic and the current health regulations, this forum was safely recorded with everyone socially distanced. This is the first time that the League of Women Voters of Richardson has held a forum virtually. The forum was recorded via Zoom on Tuesday, September 15th, without an audience. All three candidates for the Texas House District 112 were invited to participate in this forum. The Republican incumbent, Representative Angie Chin Button, declined to participate. Democrat Brandy Chambers and Libertarian Shane Newsom agreed to participate. Hello, my name is Ellen Steger. I am president of the League of Women Voters of Richardson and the moderator of this forum. The League of Women Voters of Richardson provides nonpartisan voting and election information to voters in Richardson and the Richardson Independent School District. We do not support or oppose candidates or political parties. Before we begin, I need to review the format for this forum. Both candidates have agreed to abide by some basic ground rules, and I, as moderator, have agreed to ensure that the ground rules are followed. The candidates will discuss their own position on issues and not dwell on their opponent's position or record. They will show respect to their opponent at all times. They will refrain from personal attacks and charges. They will actually answer the question that was asked, and they will respect the time limits. The candidates will have 1.5 minutes to answer each question and 2 minutes for a closing statement. The public was polled to supply questions for this forum. Requests were made on social media and on the Richardson League's website, as well as through emails. Many thanks to those who submitted questions. However, due to the number of questions submitted and the time limitations of this forum, we are not able to ask all questions submitted. Questions have been screened according to the League of Women Voters of Texas Guide to Candidate Forums. The candidates have no prior knowledge of these questions. The timekeeper for this evening is from the League of Women Voters of Richardson and will be visible on the video at all times. The timekeeper will signal with a green sign when 30 seconds remain, with a yellow sign when 10 seconds remain, and with a red stop sign for when time for answering the question has expired. Ms. Chambers, can you see the timekeeper?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Newsom, can you see the timekeeper?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now to introduce the candidates in ballot order. Ballot position 1 will be Angie Chin Button, but she declined to participate in this forum, so she will not be represented tonight. In ballot position 2, we have Brandy Chambers. And in ballot position 3, we have Shane Newsom.
Hello.
Okay, to make sure all the microphones are working and there are no technical issues, we will have a quick, fun, one-word answer lightning round of 4 questions for the 2 candidates. So Ms. Chambers, we're going in ballot order first. You answer first. You have an hour for recreational reading, fiction or nonfiction?
Fiction.
And Mr. Newsom?
Fiction.
Mr. Newsom, you go first on this one. Paper or plastic?
Paper.
And Ms. Chambers.
Paper.
Ms. Chambers goes first on this one. Beach or mountains?
Mountains.
And Mr. Newsom.
Mountains as well.
And the last one, Mr. Newsom first. Cats or dogs?
Cats.
And Ms.
Cats.
Chambers.
Cats.
Okay, I think we are good technically. That was just to make sure that we could hear everybody's microphones okay. And I think we're ready to start. As each candidate responds to their first question, a 4-bullet biography supplied by the candidate will be shown on the screen. So Ms. Chambers, we're starting in ballot order. First to you. Why should I vote for you?
Well, I believe that you should vote for me if you are looking for a change to have more impact in our legislative sessions. We need to have our voices heard, and from the last 12 years, we have not been able to have that with our current representative. My priority is to expand Medicaid. Second priority is to fix public school finance. By doing both of those, we'll be able to lower property taxes, and those are the most important things that are happening in this district.
Thank you. And Mr. Newsom, a minute and a half.
I think the reason why you should vote for me is because we've had too much government in our hands. We don't have a voice, as Mrs. Brandy said. So we have issues with trying to be heard, and then you have their political views pushing the way they want and not enough in the people's hands for everything. So I would like to push on more of letting everything have free will and do what you guys need to do in your local area to have your own voice, because it's a lot easier to have your voice heard when people are local and not out in the far out area.
Okay, thank you. And let me just say, if either of the candidates would like for me to repeat the question, please don't hesitate to ask. Mr. Newsom, we'll start with you on this one. Would you support an amendment to the Texas Constitution that would require the Texas legislature to meet annually rather than every 2 years? And please explain.
Yes, I think they should meet annually. That way things can change faster. One of the issues now is that it takes forever to get anything done, and you've got to wait an X amount of time compared to having things done locally or privately that can get done faster.
Okay, and Ms. Chambers, same question.
I would definitely support expanding these sessions to be yearly instead of biannually. Right now, we only have 140 days to rush through legislation and a budget that's supposed to expand for the 2 years. There's not a lot of time for committee meetings. There's not a lot of time for the opportunity to work across the aisle to get things done. With the deadline of only 140 days for every 2 years, we are getting shortchanged in our ability to effect change and bring about a better status for Texas.
Thank you. And question number 3, we start with Ms. Chambers first. With state income lower due to the pandemic, budget cuts may be necessary. What expenses would you target, or what taxes or fees would you raise, and why?
What we need to do is look at the possible ways that we could bring in more revenue. And by doing that, we can look at existing structures. Right now, we have over $46 billion in tax exemptions that we could look at, make sure that they are necessary or not necessary, whether we should sunset some of them, and find out where we can close corporate loopholes. That's one place right there that we can look for additional revenue. Additionally, I believe strongly that we should legalize marijuana and be able to have that as a source of revenue, as well as we have seen from all of our neighboring states that have done so. So to me, when we're looking at this, we should not automatically go in saying we need to cut, we need to cut, we need to cut. We need to look at the places where we can get more revenue on a quick basis, especially when we look at the property tax code, where we have a lot of corporate loopholes in which not everyone is paying their fair share. And so those are the places that I would go first before doing any cuts.
Thank you. And Mr. Newsom.
Like Brandy said, definitely would have to have some kind of research to make sure we're not cutting things that absolutely need to be cut. but definitely cut out some of the stuff that we don't need. At least for me, I would focus on the bigger buildings or certain departments that definitely doesn't need to be done. Just like she mentioned about the sunset bill, definitely needs to find out, see what we can do to migrate a lot of the businesses or the government entities in together and get rid of the ones that we don't need. As far as Brandy said, also legalize marijuana. Let's just not stop at marijuana. Let's just stop at, do other drugs as well. So anything more, give the power to the people so they can actually make their choices and spend on what they want to spend money on, which will generate revenue for us, compared to picking and choosing what we should cut and shouldn't cut. We just should cut across the board.
Okay, thank you. For question number 4, we'll start with Mr. Newsom. Do you think Texas should make changes to the current voting system? Why and why not?
I would say yes, because everybody needs a right to vote in some shape, way, or form. No one should be left out if they actually want to vote. So either more polling places or easier access to polling, mail-in ballots, or things like that.
Okay, thank you. And Ms. Chambers.
Absolutely. We have a lot of work that we need to do to ensure fair access to voting. First thing, we should have no excuse mail-in voting. That should be an option for anybody that they want to choose if that's how they want to do it. We also need to make sure that we are looking at different opportunities for voter registration, which the first thing we need to do is online voter registration. We need to have same-day voter registration. We need to be able to get the opportunity to everyone instead of continuing to quash their opportunity to exercise their voice.
Thank you. Question number 5, we'll start with Ms. Chambers. Should the STAR test be given in the upcoming 2020-2021 year? And please explain your answer.
No, I do not believe the STAR test should be given in this school year. I have a daughter right now who is in 6th grade who is learning virtually. It's extremely difficult environment, and this is not a time for testing, especially when the purpose of the STAR test is used to evaluate and compensate teachers. I am not a believer in the STAR test. Generally, I think that we should remove the STAR test from any measurement of teacher success and pay. So I am for testing generally to see a student's measurement of achievement, but not use that as a decision on whether they should pass a grade or to determine a teacher's salary.
And Mr. Newsom.
I would agree with somewhat with Brandy's aspect to it, is that I don't think we should start testing it at all. Get rid of it. It's the point of that you're holding teachers and students accountable for stuff that the school already really does. You take tests, you pass or fail within the current. So the state of Texas shouldn't care if you pass or fail the test. Fine, if you want to see where every school is granted and make sure all the students are really learning, yes, that's fine. But it shouldn't be a mandatory aspect to know where the teachers are at or even where the students are at if they pass or fail the class. That's what your local school's for.
Thank you. And we'll start with Mr. Newsom on question number 6. Data released by the United States Census Bureau shows that in 2018, Texas has the highest number of uninsured persons in the country, and that was 17.7%. Do you believe that more Texans should have health insurance? If so, what solutions do you propose? And if not, why not?
Do I think they should have more health insurance? Yes. But I don't think the government should be supplying the health insurance. One of the reasons why our health insurance is so high is because of the government getting involved and mandating aspects to it. You saw with the Affordable Health Care Act that the government wasn't even honest with that setup either, and how prices went high. So you had people escape out of that. They should be able to pick and choose what kind of insurance they want and not be mandated as well.
Thank you. And Ms. Chambers.
Would you repeat the question just one more time,
Yes.
please?
Data released by the United States Census Bureau shows that in 2018, Texas has the highest number of uninsured persons in the country, and that was 17.7%. Do you believe that more Texans should have health insurance? If so, what solutions do you propose? If not, why not?
Yes, I do believe that Texans should have more health insurance. And the first thing that we need to do, and my first priority getting into office, is expanding Medicaid. For every dollar that Texas spends in the expansion of Medicaid, we will get back $9. That not only is a good thing for Texas financially, it's the right thing to do to make sure that those people that can get affordable health care have access to it. This is how we help raise the level of health and success in Texas. And not only by expanding Medicaid will help ensure these people and make sure that they have the access to health care, it creates jobs. It creates opportunity. It's a big win-win for the state of Texas, and that is my first priority.
Thank you. And Ms. Chambers, you start first on the next question, and you may have already answered this. Are you in favor of Medicaid expansion in Texas? Please explain.
Yes. Yes, I am. Just like I said, it is the right thing to do. Healthcare is, to me, a human right. People should have the ability to seek health care if they so choose. Some people don't, that's fine. We need to make sure that that is accessible and that that is available to everyone, regardless of your zip code and regardless of the color of your skin. And that should be a priority of our community. So it's the right thing to do to make sure we're giving this access. And again, it is a win-win because it creates jobs, it creates income, it creates economic flow into Texas, which right now we are going to need this next session. We can bring back those $9 to R1 to offset some of these issues. And also by expanding Medicaid, we are helping to reduce the burden on our property taxes from supplanting and replacing the cost of indigent care that we're having to pay for our property taxes. Absolutely.
And Mr. Newsom, same question.
No, I don't think we should expand Medicaid for all. I think what we need to do is leave it back to the people so it can cut costs so they can actually bargain with the doctors, and the doctors can drop the prices per individual. So that gives them the freedom of what they want to go and where they want to go to. So if I want to go to the doctors and say, hey, I only have $20, can I do it? And he goes, no, I have to charge you bare minimum of this, so I can't see you. And then also when the government has more control of the policies, we see what happened to the VA. I'm like, they had a lot of control over that. Where's that going to happen? You just, I think it should be more in the people and not the government pushing it.
For question number 8, we will start with Mr. Newsom. According to the Texas State Comptroller, more than 2 million households do not have high-speed or broadband internet access. As of 2016, only 69% of rural Texans had access. Do you see this as a potential problem? If so, what legislative solutions would you support? And if not, why is it not a problem?
Well, I guess it depends as a problem. As a computer person myself, yeah, it's a problem. I don't live in the country without any high-speed internet. But the governments shouldn't have to play on where the companies put their internet, especially now with the 5G going out. That's going to accomplish a lot of aspects. Leave the companies to do what they need to do at the speed they want to do it. All the government will do is actually slow it down and mandate, and they will not push for more advancements.
And Ms. Chambers, same question.
Yes, the lack of high-speed internet in rural communities and any other community is extremely troubling and something we need to address. I think the internet needs to be seen as a utility and not a privilege because of where our economy and because of where our culture is today using the internet. So what I would like to do is partner with public companies to make sure that we're able to provide that, give them incentives, make sure that they have access to grants that we can use, just like we did with the telephone system. Same concept. We need to create opportunities and incentives for those companies to go out there and make sure that everyone has access to the internet.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Question number 9, we will begin with Ms. Chambers. Would you support giving control over the redistricting process in Texas to a nonpartisan commission? Why or why not?
Yes, I would. I have even though I'm running for an office, I do not believe that the people who will benefit from drawing the lines should be the one to draw the lines. As we have seen specifically with our legislature from 2010 and 2011, that given the opportunity, that greed will happen. And so I think that if we take away the people who are benefiting from it, then we put in a neutral commission to oversee the allocation where there is no hidden agenda, then we should take our opportunity to do that. And it ensures fairness for both sides.
And Mr. Newsom, same question.
Yeah, I think it should be an independent company or a group that would do it. Because it's like Randy said, when the government has any ties to anything, they can be skewed, they can be moved, the greed comes a fact. So the less way we get out of the government's way, the more the people have information and we can hold them accountable, unlike the government. You can't hold the government accountable because they just kind of go whatever. Unlike a third party, we can actually hold them accountable and find multiple counties or multiple companies that will be able to do this better than the previous one or better than what we do.
Thank you. For question number 10, we'll begin with Mr. Newsom. Do you support implementing red flag laws? That is, confiscating guns from people deemed dangerous by a judge. Why or why not?
That's kind of a tough question for me. But if you went through the right processes and have that, the point is it could take a little too long, but I would be okay with that. If a judge actually approved that and they had good substantial evidence.
Thank you. And Ms. Chambers.
Yes, I do completely endorse red flag laws and think that we should implement that in the state of Texas. The thing, everyone argues that, oh, we're taking away people's rights, With red flag laws, that person is going through due process. They are given the opportunity to present why they should not have them taken away, because the reason that someone has gone to the judge and said, hey, we're worried about this person, we think this person might be a danger to himself or society, we have an obligation to look into that. And then when we go through that due process, then we are making sure that we are not denying anyone of their rights, that they have had the benefit of the overview, and there's been a determination by an independent person, a judge, to say, hey, we're really concerned that you might be a danger to our society, and therefore we need to protect society. Absolutely.
Thank you. And Ms. Chambers, we'll begin with you for question 11. The governor and local leaders have sometimes been at odds over the proper response to the current pandemic. Are you satisfied with Texas's response to the current COVID-19 pandemic? What role should the Texas legislature be playing, if any?
I am not satisfied with the way it's been handled. I think that we rushed way too soon to open up, that we did not put the mask mandate in place early enough, and that we have not done what we need to do on making sure that there is community testing available all over the state in with rapid response. I think that the fact that the governor has exercised and mandated control over issues against the pleading of community officials is offensive. And the fact that he did this without consulting the legislature or any other of the main part of the legislature, without calling a special session on how to deal with it, without trying to find a way to allocate money from the legislature to do that, is irresponsible. I think that we could have done better and we should have done better.
Thank you. And Mr. Newsom, same question.
Can you repeat the question for me, please?
Certainly. The governor and local leaders have sometimes been at odds over the proper response to the current pandemic. Are you satisfied with Texas's response to the current COVID-19 pandemic? What role should the Texas legislature be playing, if any?
I don't think the Texas legislation should be playing very much roles as making laws, stuff like that. I think that should be based off of your local city, because one giant law is not going to affect how Dallas or some small country aspect handles it. As we saw with South Dakota, they didn't really push any mandates on, and they have some of the lowest aspects to it. Now, if some of the local cities wanted to enforce it, I disagree with that, but I think they should leave it up to the buildings and the people and the business for that. I go to certain restaurants or certain stores that mandate a little more than other ones do. For example, if they don't have an outside seating or don't allow outside seating, I don't go. So it's also the people's responsibility to take care of themselves and pick who they want to go to. Because if businesses are cutting loose and letting anybody in, they're going to, and people don't like it, they're not going to survive. Unlike how Texas and mostly the United States, and they push down how business can open and what can and what cannot when they're playing favorites.
Thank you. And the last question, we'll start with Mr. Newsom. In the next legislative session, what's one issue close to your heart that you would like to see progress made on?
I'm not really sure if I have just one issue, but overall it would be human rights. I think a lot of aspects to it is we starting to pick one gender, one race, one category of people, and it doesn't need that. It needs to be everybody needs the exact same rights. Because if you're going to start nitpicking what group has it, other people are left out too, and then we got to fight for that for another 10 or 15 years. Let's just make a basic word of humans or people to have the same rights.
Thank you. And Ms. Chambers, same question.
Absolutely. First priority, most important thing is expanding Medicaid. It's a win-win for Texas. It's going to help insure over 1 million uninsured people. It's the right thing to do, and it's the best thing to do.
Thank you. That was the last question. Thank you very much. And now for closing statements, we will begin in reverse ballot order. So Mr. Newsom, you have 2 minutes for a closing statement.
So my closing statement is that for why I think somebody should vote for me is because they want more individual freedom and not have the government telling them what they can and cannot do. They're free to make their own choices. Local areas can adapt faster than waiting for big old Texas to make some kind of mandate or law to pass. Each city and each person should be able to adapt quickly and fast what benefits them individually, for the freedom to choose what they want to choose. If they're going to what school they want to, if they want to have health insurance, what type of health insurance they want, or if they want to actually, what kind of racial drugs they would want to use. So I think if you want to vote for me, the process of more freedom and more ability to do what you want to do.
Thank you. And Ms. Chambers, 2 minutes for a closing statement.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you, League of Women Voters and everyone who's watching, for this opportunity to talk to you and get to know me. I want to let you know that I'm, first and foremost, I'm a mother. I am a lawyer, and I am a mediator. I've been professionally trained on how to deal with conflict within parties and get to a win-win, and that's exactly what is needed in our legislature. I decided to run because I was tired of the extreme right setting the agenda for Texas. My values and the values of my community were not being heard or legislated. My mother taught me that I should love my neighbor, that to treat people the way I want to be treated, and that I am my brother and sister's keeper. And that's how I believe that we should be addressing government. And that is why I am asking for this seat at the table. Thank you so much for everybody who's coming out and for your support. And I appreciate you very much.
Many thanks to Ms. Chambers and to Mr. Newsom for participating in our first ever virtual forum. Early voting in person begins Tuesday, August 13th, and continues through Friday, October 30th. You must be registered by Monday, October the 5th, in order to vote in the November 3rd election. Make sure you exercise your right to vote, and thank you for watching.
Thank you.